Hey, what's up, everybody? BDF 44 coming at you with another video. All right, so I figured I'd do a therapy session slash apes rant or something like that because, of course, if you guys have been following me, I'm an ape. And no, that's not a racial slur for myself. I think highly of myself. But we're talking about AMC, the stock movement against corruption in the stock market. And so if you have followed me, then this is not a new conversation. We've been having hundreds of conversations about this over the last 4 years, and we're coming up on a very important circumstance where, within AMC specifically, although the squeeze itself spans across several companies, not specifically AMC. AMC seems to be, from where I'm sitting, the biggest source of where this movement has people gathered around. They are gathered at AMC as if it's a place. So that's where retail basically is. A lot of our money, a lot of the people who are fighting this battle have bought AMC shares, and those shares are going to be, by way of what has been approved of legally, diluted. Diluted. We have bought shares with the intention of helping ourselves to the squeeze, and they're taking our count and making the shares, they're diluting the shares. They're taking the shares and they're condensing them is the word. So if you have 200, they turn into 20, and then from there they can short those same 20 shares and then further draw the value down even further. So what they're trying to do is shake off retail at all costs. And there's been an appeal in regards to this court decision, from what I understand, but the 24th is when this is supposed to take place. So the stock is down like 50% the last couple of days based on the anticipation of this stock split and what it is supposed to mean for those who are in it when it happens. In other words, it's a countdown that's supposed to be our doom and gloom, and we got about 4 days to get out before our money's gone. And we are supposed to anticipate that and know that. That is a psychological application of urgency that is supposed to shake us off, no different than everything else that has been done leading up to the situation. However, this time, the effect of what it is they're doing should, in theory, drown us out. Make it that all the shares that we've purchased will be condensed into lesser shares, and thus again being able to short it even further to destroy the company with us inside of it. So I don't know if this is illegal because I don't know the specifics of all the laws in place, but I do know it is unjust, it is wrong, and then prayers have been prayed about it for those of us who believe in God. Lots of prayers have been prayed about this on my end, and I'm pretty sure the apes who've suffered have cried out as well. The 24th is the day they're supposed to turn our 200 into 20. And then from there, we're expecting the shares to be decreasing in value at some point based on the ability to short those shares from there. My question is, all the shares that they've been on the hook for having to pay back, since they've condensed it now, those shares essentially do not exist. So thus the squeeze would, by way of what this is supposed to do, kill the squeeze, because the squeeze is about us taking all the shares that are outstanding and purchasing them against those who are trying to draw it down, short it, I guess you can say is the word, shorting it, and draw value from it by betting against it, by way of their stock options and various different ways they do it. Because we're on the other side holding those shares, we put a pressure against that behavior that ultimately puts them in a serious position to see the squeeze happen, to see debt take place based on them holding against us, shorting against us holding. But if they make it so that what we're holding isn't as plentiful, regardless of what it's worth, it's easier to attack it, and it's easier to get us to shake off of it, because instead of us selling from 200 shares, we only have 20 from which to sell. Still worth the same amount as a whole within our pot, but the amount of shares that we have from which to benefit from the squeeze and the amount of shares from which we hold on to becomes decreasing. This is obviously a functionality that is intent on making us leave, on getting us to sell the shares by way of every possible angle. The management inside of the company doesn't want the squeeze to happen, so they are in agreement that dilution is possible. And the only way for the hedge funds who have over leveraged themselves to get out from under this is for us to let go. And so you turn 200 into 20, it's much easier to push those people who are holding those 20 to drop those 20. So this is what is being done. We shareholders were given an opportunity to vote against this sabotage from within. But a non-vote is a vote yes. So by way of that conundrum, with a lot of people not being voters in this situation, because a lot of retail is not knowledgeable people, they're just human beings waiting for a squeeze, they were able to, by default, initiate this self-destruction process that is supposed to dilute the squeeze. We're being robbed. We're being robbed by the people that we came to hold accountable for doing the robbing initially. They found a very unique and creative way to take what it is that we've done in regards to standing against them and just simply make it so that it is not there. Turn 200 into 20 and then put that same pressure on us who were holding that 200 to hold that 20, and it's much harder, as we've said. So they essentially can they can shake us off now. They only got 20. They definitely broke. So they're going to sell those because we're going to force them to, because we're going to drive it to the ground. So those 20 that are worth like $10, we're going to make them worth $3. And at that point, they're not going to have nothing from which to pull from, unless they already have enough money outside of this squeeze to take care of themselves and enough income, for which a lot of us don't, because we're retail. We don't have the money. That's the point. We're poor. And so they know they can shake us off so long as we don't have a strong share count. You know, most of us, people are holding 300, 400, 500 shares. If they have to sell, they're still drawing from more rather. Even if it's like the same amount of value, I can condense it better. I can fraction it better. I can sell it easier. Now, fractional shares are available to sell and buy, but fractional shares do not necessarily count against what it is we're talking about. So if you have fractionals, it's no guarantee that you're going to be forced to cover those, etc. So this is a situation where they found a clever way to remove the problem. The problem is us standing against their debt, making it very difficult for them to cover that debt. So long as we're standing here, the debt continues to increase. We're not shaking off. But if they can find a way to shake us loose, it could decrease the entire company of AMC. And not only can they finally draw it to zero, what they were intending to do, but they can make us pay for standing against them in the process, hopefully deterring any groups of people who would ever try to do so again. So this is what it is. But the only way it actually works is if the companies from the inside out, by way of some nefarious voting process, are able to dilute their own company in favor of the shorts against retail, so that we don't destroy the entire market. They're willing to destroy the company. They hire CEOs to dilute the company from the inside out so that they're not held accountable for this practice. It's a functionality of the game they're playing. It's a move within the game that they already had in play, which is why I believe a lot of the powers that be never had retail in mind as a serious threat, because they knew that the self-destruct button that is these hired CEOs that are very much intent on doing the job of the hedge funds of whom pay their bills, will always self-destruct the company itself to keep from destroying the system from which they corrupt. And so what I'm telling you is, this happened with GME as well. They diluted the hell out of GME. We should have saw that coming, because it's exactly what they did. They took what was GME, the shares that were in place, and they split them, thus making it more shares out there, thus diluting the company. They did that with GameStop. That's what GME is. A year later, they're doing it with AMC. There are much more people in AMC. There are much more shares shorted in AMC. There's still time left, 4 days, with that appeal in place. It's a Hail Mary shot for retail. But if they reverse that appeal, they are not able to dilute the shares that we hold. We keep our 500, whatever it's going to be, count. and they'll still be on the hook for everything that not only they've been on the hook for, but everything they will continue to be on the hook for so long as we're in place without being willing to leave. Now, here's the thing. Our share count, if they dilute, we can go up and buy $500, 500 shares worth of whatever after they finish doing all this dilution. But the problem is, because this dilution is going to be more shares from which to draw from. So if retail's holding 7 million shares, so to speak, and then they flood the market with another 21 million shares, those 7 million shares that we were holding against them doesn't mean the same thing. That's what dilution is. They dilute it. They're pouring water in the soda, so to speak. So here's what I think also is in play, though. Something that nobody is expecting that could be also something. They are trying to dilute this thing, but because they have over leveraged themselves in such a way already, and retailers bought so much of them already, their dilution process, I think there's a chance that they may have to do it more than once to actually be successful. What I'm telling you is, conventional understanding would make it so that dilution equals shaking off all of the apes. But what I'm telling you is, I don't know that the apes don't have it worked in into their equation, that they're gonna buy these things regardless anyway. What I'm telling you is, it's basically in our religion at this point to spite them. And as long as them, they who write the FUD, they who put the fear, uncertainty, and doubt psychological applications into our various platforms that we frequent to help us to their will, those individuals are still engaging in that behavior. And because of it, we, retail apes, know we are relevant. As long as they're there detracting from what it is that we're doing, there is still a reason to do so. That's the thing. So as I sit up here telling you guys that I meditated greatly about what's going on in this situation, I did a lot of praying last night because I was feeling a little frustrated about this situation a little bit. Just saying to myself that I wish I would have known just how much was up against me so that I could have made better decisions with my own personal position. But I think that, for my own walk of life, all of that aligned the way it was supposed to anyway. Though I went down that path, I still got what I needed. However, there are many apes who didn't. People who over leveraged, who took out loans and stuff like that. I didn't take it that far. I used cash for everything I had. If I lost it, I lost it, but I wasn't in the extra hole for any money based on those decisions. Others were, and they took on a lot worse of what it is that went on than myself and maybe some others. So these are people I prayed about last night. People who had good intentions just like me, whose lives were likely teetering on whether or not things went right in this play in order for their lives to get better or worse. Some of those people didn't make it. A lot of them were elderly when it started, that kind of thing. It's all went to crap. And their sacrifice is supposed to have been in vain. Their efforts were supposed to have been in vain. All of these psychological applications of urgency against retail within this play are supposed to make it so that everything that we did and everyone who did what they did leading up to it is supposed to be forgotten about, for the sake of the fear of being diluted, for which even within dilution, we would still have to stop buying and holding these things in order for the squeeze to officially be off. We, retail, by way of our choice to sell, confirm the end of the squeeze. Not dilution, not FUD, not self-destructive tools that happen to be human beings inside of companies looking to push a button anytime something like this is to occur. None of those people, none of those entities confirm the end of the squeeze. We do, when we actually sell out of our positions and commit to not repurchasing. That's the only thing that truly saves them from us. See, we're up against it, but we are the it they are up against. Otherwise, none of this wouldn't have even been necessary. All of the FUD, all of the investment money they put into the psychological applications of thought that they could apply to our various platforms that we frequent. All of these different things that they do to try to get us to doubt what it is that we've done. If they were silent, it would confirm that they would otherwise have won. As long as they're doing this, as long as cost to borrow is sky high, 800, 900, 1,000%, we know that they are up against stresses that we are not, because they're trying to figure out how to overcome the desperation of those who have nothing while trying to hold on to everything unjustly. That stress is a lot worse than anything that you're feeling when going up against them. But because they are the way they are, they have to give you the guise that they are winning and that your energy is folly. But the real folly is what they've done to their reputation in over leveraging themselves against people who don't have anything, and then mistaking the idea that they can outthink us in regards to what we would want in forms of the opportunities given by way of this play. You think we're going to walk away from that when we don't have anything? We're holding 401ks that are worth under $1 million when homes in our neighborhoods are worth more than that in bad neighborhoods in certain situations. You think we're going to give up a lottery ticket that aligns with the sensibility that people have been working against us who have plenty, who care not for what happens to people who have none? You think we're going to give up a lottery ticket that kicks your ass? You haven't been paying attention. And most importantly, you should have been. Because if you would have been, you would have known why you never, ever underestimate the desperation of the poor and the pettiness of the poor when the 1% stands against them unjustly. We have nothing to lose because we've already lost. You're afraid of losing, and that's why we've won. That is the point. You're going to bring it down, dilute the thing on the 24th. Guess what we're going to do? We're going to buy it up on the 25th. You can flood the market with 1 billion shares. We're looking to buy 2. There's nothing you can do. We'll drag this thing out for 70 years. I know you have 200-year plans that are working. So what is it for me to give the rest of my life to this thing when I know how patient you're being in building what you're building? I am not confused. And like I said, talk to the creator. I've talked to him. I make peace with what it is that I'm doing, what it is that ultimately could happen on the 24th, and how long this could actually take after that. But if you're waiting for me to confirm that you are now off the hook for doing what you've done here, hedge funds, you're going to be waiting a lot longer than you have. I will not do that. I'm not going to walk away from this play. I'm not going to tell you that what you've done is something that I think is a good application of respect upon myself. If I'm in your shoes, or if my kids are in your shoes, I think they disgrace themselves by engaging in this behavior, putting money above all things that would otherwise reflect positively upon them. Putting power and ego and the cooperation of wrongdoing above feeding people who don't have anything in circumstances where they don't know enough because they've been deprived of the information and the resources to build themselves up to be competitive in a world where the game is rigged against them. I will not confirm that you can continue to engage in this nonsense just because you've been able to get away with it for as long as the world has been spinning. And so I tell you, they may find themselves in a position to continue to kick the can down the road with more lies and more illegal activity within the stock market while good people are in it trying to hold them accountable so that they can see fairness in a world where very little is found. I tell you that those on the other end of this thing better hope that the God I pray to is actually not real. Because if he happens to be real, they have stood against him no different than any other enemy he has, using applications of behavior no different than any other enemy he has, and will fail just the same, just like every other enemy he has. One thing I understand about these hedge funds is the same thing I just said right now, that they engage by way of what it is that I see in applications of evil behavior. Evil. The same characteristics of evil It's the same characteristic that these hedge funds and these FUD writers engage in. Misdirection. I'm not really here. What you think is not what you think. You're crazy, not us. My wrongdoing should be okay because at the end of the day, you all don't know what you're doing. And look how stupid you are for standing against the evil that I do. This is the same energy that you're going to find in every other enemy of the Creator. Which is why I know what I'm dealing with, which is why I know why not to quit. They're going to always tell you that you got time running out for whatever it is that you're praying for the betterment of not only yourself, while they do what only aligns for the betterment of them and their agenda, which ultimately aligns with some being able to get all of what they need, while most being given only a portion of what is necessary to keep them laying down so that they can be stood upon. This, my friends, is what the hedge funds stand for. Standing on the backs of the poor and the less fortunate. Not inadequate and stupid like they want us to think we are, but hypnotized, warped, and otherwise trained. And when you understand that this is what's been done to your mind, the mind of your ancestors by way of the cultures that they've been engaging in and investing in for hundreds of years, you understand that the choices you make come from a foundation that they laid for you. Now look at the enemies of the Western world and how serious they are about removing music and art and all of these different things. And I say they are extreme. And so are we. The truth is somewhere in between that. And the fact of the matter is we live in a world where one extreme is the other way. We want to let everything in the door. We don't want to be held accountable for nothing. It's our ambition first, and whatever happens to the little guy is his fault. He better have some ambition too and step on something too, or he's not getting anywhere. That is how we build. That is how this country and this Western world spins. And I'm telling you, it's a lot of agreeing upon wrongdoing and evil doing and corruption and gatekeeping and all different types of enemy of God behavior that we engage in to keep our foundation and our structure in place. But what we don't know is that that structure is decaying by way of that energy. So when we allow people to rig the stock market, we allow people to only funnel information to certain children and not others in different neighborhoods. But we allow these same people to continue to do the things that they've been doing. When we stand against them, they cut us down. When we stand against them, they make the progress slow. When we stand against them, they try to provide us everything but the wisdom to know why we shouldn't do it. While continuing to build their generational wealth, family, generation after generation. Continuing on the backs of culture, standing on the backs of poor people. Who agree upon this by way of the guilt tripping of what is cool, what is acceptable, and ultimately what is considered sane. None of which explain to us why it is necessary that we lay down so that they can stand on us. No context of wisdom that allows me to understand why I should be used as a step stool. How does that help the overall world? How does that clear up global warming? All I'm saying is there's no wisdom behind this. It's just greed. There's no greater good behind this. It's actually a greater bad, so to speak, or worse bad. I gave some meditation to the thought last night, and I honestly just think they only want the people around that they can use for cheap labor in places that they can be far away from having. They don't have to want to deal with us. They want us out of their rural spaces. They want us out of their big cities. They want us out of their areas that they often like to be in. That's why they got so much emphasis on certain things that happen in certain places. Look at what happened in Chicago with the FBG Duck case. They only care about that young man passing away because of where he was shot. If this happened in his neighborhood, you wouldn't have heard two words about it. And that type of hypocrisy, it's the same hypocrisy that I speak of right now when I say they don't have any interest in doing things that are going to basically help us all come to the context and understanding of why we have to play the roles that they've put us in. It's going to put us in those roles. And then guilt trip us into staying in those roles by way of what they make normal, cool, and sane. So I'm telling y'all, man, I don't know where this begins and ends. I just assume it's an entity of agreeable energies at the top. Human beings that all feel that the world should be this way. And have the means of making it so. And by way of their manipulation within the various different areas that we often find ourselves in, because of by way of the manipulative applications of methods in those places, they're able to keep us in this hypnosis, so to speak. But I am not on the frequency. I'm not on it. I'm not on that frequency. It doesn't necessarily work on me. Not to the point where it can keep me from speaking on it. And so this is where I'm at with that. It can dilute AMC. All we're going to do is continue to buy whatever's there. Whatever's there. It doesn't matter. We do not care. The squeeze will take place. And that is the mindset that we engage in as apes as we move forward. It's not about when. It's that it will. And it will because we are going to make it happen. See, just like they act like enemies of God, we engage in the confidence of God. We don't have any swaying. There's no FUD. Nothing's going to work. The only thing that's going to work is you understanding that there's really nothing that you can do psychologically that can make us not have an opportunity at the most money we've ever had in our lives, so long as this thing is still alive. And we are the ones that have to agree that it's done. Poor people who've never had anything, who don't have anything to pass to their children, who still have children to pass things to. And then there's you and your spite and your pettiness and your God complex that you stand against good people, poor people with. Standing there reminding us of why we should continue to spite you. On top of all these other reasons to stay in the play, it's your taunting and your FUD and your ego that make it easy to stay against your evil. So they're trying to figure out our psychology. They better understand that. We ain't going nowhere. It's a lottery ticket. We're poor. We don't have anything. We're never going anywhere. This can happen 100 years from now. And because of what's on the line, it would have been worth it to hold. For us who have nothing against you, who are planning on holding onto it for as long as that will be. Hell yeah, we can hold 400 years. We can hold it for 400 years. Remember, my ancestors stood in slavery for 400 years. You think I can't hold on to this psychological concern of when this is going to happen versus it never doing for the rest of my life? My ancestors showed me what was inside of me. You ain't gonna be able to shake me off. Think about it. You can't begin to know the understanding that I'm trying to provide you without actually respecting us enough to even look into our hearts to see if something like that is there. When you start believing your own lies about the people that you've molded against, you misevaluate what is actually coming at you when dealing with us. We're not mindless savages. We're connected spirits of God. That is what these darkies are. Not the people that you've told everybody we are, but who we actually created us to be. So when you lie to the people, you gotta understand that the truth is in our hearts. Before you even open your mouth, by way of the true connection that he has with his people. You don't have to believe what I'm telling you. I'm telling you what I feel based on what has been proven with the faith applied in my life and the miracles done in my life. You cannot convince me otherwise, because he's already convinced me of his wisdom. Of the wisdom of applying faith to a higher power that stands against entities of misdirection. So I'm coming to you today with the confidence to say that it really doesn't matter what is on their calculator as it pertains to what it is they're looking at when coming against me. Because the God I serve has already proven to be a miracle worker in my favor. So when you do what it is that you do, standing against what it is that I believe in, do understand that prayers have been prayed in regards to this. And because it's not meant to exalt my very own self, but more so save others from the circumstances of being corrupted against, I know that the favor he's allowing me to believe in is a favor worth receiving for the betterment of the people. And that of which the entity is that we're going against is the very opposite, proven in not only the behavior, but also the folly that they engage in when going up against serious entities such as us. I am telling you, the squeeze, however it's going to play out, is going to fall in the favors of people like myself, who have stood on the wrong side of a Goliath-like entity looking to not only corrupt the world that I'm in, but several worlds ahead of me. I will not stand idly while they do so. So that's what I want to say to everybody. That is my apes rant for the day. I want people to know that I don't give a damn if this thing squeezes at all in my lifetime. What it is that we're standing against, and the people that we're ultimately trying to instill wisdom in to respect us more will respect us. And they will understand things that they didn't understand before this, that will help them know why they should do things a bit different, if not turn away from their ways entirely. My name is BDF 44, and thank you all for watching. Out.